We're in the business of breaking barriers. What is it that you want to do while you're living? Who can you uplift? Who can you inspire? You had graduations from Oxford, UCL, LSE, King's, some of the big universities. I love seeing that. Let's pay that forward and do that for as many people as possible. It's the legacy you want to leave behind. What do you want to be remembered for? People don't want to work for a company, they want to buy into a mission.
Hello and welcome to the Lloyds British Business Excellence Awards Beyond the Trophy podcast. We have brought together a group of entrepreneurs, business leaders, educators for this series, and we are so honoured to be joined today by Abdul Shill, who's co-founder of Sahan Cares, winner of our 2021 Purpose Before Profit Award. Abdul, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Sahan Cares entered into the awards in 2021, which seems very like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually won our Purpose Before Profit Award. And once you can explain a little bit more about what it is that you do, you'll see why that was such a clear winner for you. And you've gone on to become a judge in the programme. So let's go back to the beginning, I think. Talk about Sahan Cares, your story. Where did it all begin? How you've come about to run one of the leading purpose-led businesses in the country.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy being around your company. I always enjoy being around the BBEA family. So I'm grateful for you giving me this opportunity. I would say, Sahan Cares, we are a family-run social enterprise and we offer care and support to the elderly and adults with disabilities. But we do it by giving employment to refugees who English isn't their first language. We train them how to speak English. We help them qualify in social care. And then we send them out to the community as carers. And the reason why we set up Sahan Cares is as a family, we moved to the UK as, refugees and we had to start from scratch. And you never forget any of that when you move into a new environment, when you move into a new country. Things like welfare is what shaped you because that's what put food on the table. Those free milk vouchers is what, shaped us as, I wouldn't say shaped us, but contributed to our well-being as a family. So as you get older, you develop gratitude quickly, because you're grateful for everything, whether it's big or small, the tiniest thing. You don't take any of that for granted. So within 10 years of settling in to the UK, myself, so Sahan Cares, co-founded by myself, my mom, my brother, my sister. So we said to ourselves, okay, you know what, there's a group of refugees that we could help. We've benefited from it. We've benefited from all these free initiatives, free initiatives that we've been around, and let's pay that forward and do that for as many people as possible. So in a nutshell, that's how Sahan Cares came to fruition back in 2012. Today, we're a team of just under 90 carers, all from refugee background. 100% of our workforce are all former refugees and mothers who had to everyone has their own unique story. Everyone has their own unique trauma of what they had to go through to get to where they are. So I feel blessed to be a part of that team.
Wow, it's such a fabulous and heartfelt social enterprise. You can really understand when you speak about it, and I've heard some of your family members speak about it as well. Yes. What it's born out of, and it is purpose, and it's your purpose. And I know that you had a great influence in your life, and you've spoken about that at events as well. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about that person.
So again, when I was younger, I would always I loved watching shows like Dragon's Den or people like Richard Branson, because from an early age, I always wanted to be in business. I think in life sometimes it's hard to go through life not knowing what you want to do. For me, from an early age, I just wanted to be in business. Business was the only subject I loved at school. So I studied university. So it's everything that I loved. So naturally, when you're younger, you look at people like the Dragons, you look at people like Richard Branson, like I'd love to be like one of those people when I'm older. But the older I got, the more I realized that actually that influence was someone I've known all my life, and that's my grandmother. Now, her name is Qamar, and Qamar in Somali means moon. And I think it's the perfect way to describe it because she lights up anywhere she goes. And she's a farmer in Somaliland who might not be able to read or write, but she's a bona fide entrepreneur in her own right. She has scaled the farm 20 plus years ago. Was when my grandfather passed away. She took that over and scaled it herself. She's a woman who believes in giving without expecting anything in return. She's someone her doors are always open for anyone who wants to eat. Front door is always open. If you want to eat, you're always going to find a meal. She doesn't give because she wants to show off. She gives because that's her DNA. And that's the values that she's instilled in my mother and my aunties and my uncles. And that's the values that my mother's instilled in us. And it's really what we use as our sort of our quote unquote corporate structure, our ethos. And it comes from her. Last time I seen her was about 2 years ago. And the first thing she told me before I even landed, the first thing she said to me is, never forget this concept of giving. Never forget that, don't live just for yourself because that's boring. How can you uplift and empower the people around you? So she would always throw those little gems. And she is so entrepreneurial that again, before sustainability was an actual thing, she decided actually, what's good for the environment is if we stopped using this petrol-based generator, and why don't we start using solars? And this is before it became trendy. She would do little things like that. She would scale her farm. She would help her neighbors. There was a time when there's a lot of stories, but this particular story, one of the neighbors came to my grandmother and said, listen, I'm really it's tough. I haven't got anything and please help me. So she said, you know what, you're good at sewing, aren't you? And she said, yeah, I am. How about this? Here's a bit of money. Go to the market, buy yourself a bit of fabric. Half of that, you could use as clothes for you and your daughters, and the other half, sell it. And then, okay, fine. So she did that. Slowly, as she kept on doing it, before you know it, she set up her own shop. So she would always inspire other people to think bigger and dream bigger. And that's what we sometimes need in life, is someone to just believe in you and believe in the mission that you're trying to do, and someone to say, yes, I'm thinking of doing that. Okay, go ahead and do it. Sometimes that's all we need. And she's just an incredible woman. And I'm not bored. I will never, ever get bored talking about her because she just inspires me every day.
Yeah, that's amazing. So she clearly instilled that in you and your family.
Yeah, it's a big part. It's a big part of us as a family. It's this giving, and you don't want to just show off and giving for the sake of it. And I always tell people is, sometimes we go to the gym to work out so we can feel healthy, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we do these little puzzle games so we can work out our brain. Giving is what cleanses our soul, and it's what cleanses our heart. And I cannot explain it. It just, I've never seen someone who's given either their time or empowered someone and felt bad about it. Yeah. You naturally feel good. And I think that's what we all need. The world is stressful as it is, and that's what brings peace to me and to everything that we do as an organization as well.
I think you'll agree we all need an inspirational woman in our lives as well. So, you recently have won more awards, purpose-led awards. Congratulations! It's every time I see you on LinkedIn, there's something else to announce, and we're all incredibly proud. And I know that you work with other businesses, other industries to advise them on leading with purpose. And I think some businesses might find that a little bit difficult, especially with all the pressures that can be put upon them. What advice do you give to other business leaders when you meet them?
I think, especially when we're thinking of this concept of purpose, what I always tell people, I'm in the social enterprise space, and what I always tell people is, first, focus on the bottom line, because focus on the business first. And once you've sort of mastered that, then that allows you to then help as many people as you can. And I always say this to other businesses as well, is people don't want to work for a company, they want to buy into a mission. So it's how do you create that sense of mission within the organization? How do you build that with the team? Because it's a lot easier to say we're doing this because so-and-so is going to benefit from what we're doing here. And that then leads to engagement, that leads to retention, that leads to a better vibe overall. And if you want to even think of it from a deeper level, life is short. And if we're lucky, we get to 70, 80, if we're lucky. So within that time, what is it that you want to get out of life? That saying, you can't take your money to the grave. We all heard that saying, but what is it that you want to do while you're living? Who can you uplift? Who can you inspire? Who can you, who can you help? And thinking like that constantly reminds you, you realize, actually, you know what? Like, there's more to life than having a grudge against this person. Hey, listen, sorry if we fell out, I forgive you, because that takes a lot from you. So it's realizing that life is short. And when you think like that, you say to yourself, actually, you know what? There's more that I can do. And it's the legacy you want to leave behind. What do you want to be remembered for? Do you want to be remembered for, you can either be remembered for the person, the boss who didn't pay the person on time, or that's that person that made me believe, and that's that person that made me, that inspired me to want to do something bigger than what I am doing. So it's constantly reminding myself about time is short, and while I'm living, what is the most that I can do within the day? Tomorrow's not promised, but what's the best that I can do today? And it's living like that. That's how we've been brought up to live.
And I guess in business, we all get bogged down with numbers, profitability, the bottom line, as you say. So within Sahan Cares and what you do, how do you measure that? What drives you, what motivates you within the business, and how do you measure that success?
I think metrics are important because it's what keeps you aligned with the mission, and it's good to have those little metrics because it galvanizes a team if you're able to focus. But for us, my biggest metric personally is seeing the kids of our carers graduate from universities, because again, 100% of our workforce are all former refugees, and as I mentioned, everyone comes with their own unique story. All the parents have made sacrifices to come over and to start a new life for their children. So then when you see them saying, I'd like to take a day off because it's my daughter's graduation, it's my son's graduation, and you feel a sense of pride because you're excited about that next generation and what they're going to do. We've had graduations from Oxford, UCL, LSE, King's, some of the big universities. And that, for me, gives a sense of pride because I love seeing that because I was a product of that. And the biggest compliment I think our employees gave us is, they will tell us, thank you for helping us raise our children. And I feel like that's the biggest compliment that you could get as an organization, because you are so invested not only in their day-to-day life, in their day-to-day work, but you're invested in their personal lives. And investing in their personal life is what would lead to retention. 92% of our staff, they've been with us for at least 6 years.
Wow.
And we always tell our staff, listen, we are a launching pad for your dreams and aspirations. We don't want, we'd love to keep you because we know that finding the quality staff is hard. But if you wanted to go set up a business, if you wanted to go do something, hey, we will help you get there. And it's thinking like that. And so those are the metrics for us. Those are the metrics that we look at, aside from the social value that we're doing within the community. But that's what motivates me. And that's what excites me when I see the kids of our carers, graduating, and I see our carers as, extended family members. I see them as extended aunties, and yeah, so you're so invested into their personal lives as well.
So that is what motivates you, or has motivated you, and obviously it's very clear what motivated you when you started and your entire family. But looking forward, so say, for example, in 10 years' time, what do you think might motivate you then? Is it still going to... Are you still going to be driven by seeing the carers' children graduating, or what do you think the future looks like?
I think every chapter in life takes you to a different moment. So this chapter that I'm in right now, it's being motivated and inspired by seeing them, the children of our carers, graduating. But as 10 years from now, it's about scaling impact, and it's about changing the perception of how refugees are viewed. And that's something that I'm super passionate about. Is you often read in the newspaper, refugees are here to, claim welfare and X, Y, and Z, but I want to show a different side to what happens when you empower someone, what happens when you give someone the opportunity, what happens when you say yes to someone when everyone said no, and the stories that comes from that. That is the biggest drive and the biggest motivation for me personally. And I think that's something that's going to motivate me 10 years from now. We have plans as an organization to scale outside of London, get, and go into pockets of the UK where we know there's a lot of refugees, and we feel like we can replicate our model there. So 10 years down the line, I want to be in a position where I can say, we've empowered a whole generation of people to live their hopes, dreams, and aspirations.
It's so lovely to hear, about your drive and the future and those plans. I think there's so much that businesses can learn from that as well, because you can replicate from people coming out of prison.
Right, exactly.
And not having that label, exactly. I guess. It's just the world of labelling.
Exactly.
I suspect it's something that you come across each day.
All the time. And sadly, there are times when we will get clients who would say, they have a perception of how you look like when you speak on the phone. And then a lady turns up with a headscarf and they say, actually, you know what? We don't want someone with this skin color looking after my family member. And that happens at times, and those labeling happen, and it's sad. But what happens more often than not is they'll get that initial shock. They'll be like, oh, but then within 5 minutes, they fall in love with the carers. And they don't even call them carers. They say, where are my daughters? And we're in the business of breaking barriers as well. We want to be in a position where we're changing perception. This is what you might have read, but this is what reality is. And we see that a lot. And again, that's another metric that we look at is what's the perception that I'm changing? Every time I step out my house, I'm always thinking, I'm an ambassador of my community, and I could be the first person that a particular person would see, and it's important for me to represent my community to the best of my ability. And I've always thought that way, because again, what people read in the newspaper is different to what reality is, and you get excited about showing the truth as well.
Yeah. Do you think that the government does enough to support businesses like yours or social enterprises like yours? And I guess if you were, what do you think they could do more of to help?
I think when you think of the social enterprise sector, social enterprises contribute over 60 billion to the UK economy. That is 60 billion of impact, 60 billion of, generating businesses and all of those. So I think social enterprises should be put in the forefront of discussion as well. I think the government has started to do that by including, the social value in tenders and procurement. They've started to do that. But I think more can always be done. And the idea is you want to get into a position in life where people don't even have to call themselves a social enterprise, where businesses have embedded purpose within the organization. You don't want to have to differentiate, or where a business that does this. That's the goal, and that's where you want to get to. And with Gen Z, there's research that talks about, we're seeing with Gen Z businesses, I've seen a sock business that for every time you buy a sock, another gets donated. And you're seeing a lot of those businesses because that's what resonates with people today. And I'm glad it is, because it's, again, shifting their perception. So I'm hopeful that the government can at least, incentivize businesses to maybe include social value within its own financial metrics. What policies can they introduce to include social value within financial metrics? Because I think everyone and the local community benefits from that.
It's the impact that you perhaps don't always see.
Yes.
And that's something that you always bring to the awards, and when you're judging the awards, you always come back to it at the end of the day and you say, but what impact is being made?
Yeah.
And that's something that I really remember from our discussions.
Yeah. And there are some times where, again, when we talk about giving, like, no one's saying give all the money in the world, but sometimes it could be you giving your time to put someone in a position of success. And then maybe it was a 5-minute conversation that inspired the person. Now you've left that person, but that person's taken that inspiration, they went out there, they've worked, they built a family, they built a business off the advice that you gave them. And then it's that impact that you're not seeing. So it's how many of that can you multiply every day to people? And then before you know it, like, you've inspired a whole army of people without you even knowing, because you were nice to that person today, and they took that and they ran with it. So it's as simple as encouragement. It's as simple as just being nice to someone. So I feel like I totally agree with what you just said, Sarah. Yeah, 100%.
It's that age-old thing. It's like, treat people how you want to be treated.
100%.
Everyone always says to me.
Absolutely.
And in business, it's just so applicable to everyone that you speak to every day.
Yeah.
And leading back to the awards, you are a judge, and you've won an award. You've won a British Business Excellence Award. You've won many awards since then. And it does definitely help you amplify your fascinating story. So what has it done since 2021? What has it done?
I think it all started with that award. It was like the first time that we said to us, actually, no, maybe we're not that bad. And I still think of that, because it's what gave us the confidence to apply for tenders. It's what gave us the confidence to say, you know what, yes, we're actually not that bad. And sometimes when you work and you're not receiving that feedback, you don't know if what you're doing makes sense. You don't know if you're on the right track. So it was a great validation for us. Yeah. And the beauty about that 2021 cohort is I met another fellow winner who happened to write tenders, and we approached them the following year, because there's a tender that was cut. There was a tender that came out and said, I remember this from the British Excellence Award. So reached out to them, They've written our tender, and we won that tender.
Amazing.
And had we not won the award, had we not met in the award, we wouldn't have met them. And now they write most of our tenders. And this year we won another one through them, and that's the connection that happened because of you.
Adil, I did not know that. Yes. That is amazing.
100%. And that's a connection that happened.
Your tender team?
Your tender team.
That's it?
Your tender team.
Amazing.
Nathan and his incredible team. Yeah.
See, connection.
Absolutely. So thank you, Sarah, again.
So to everyone listening, if they're working on a tender, they need to speak to your tender team as well.
100%.
So, Abdul, the purpose before profit category is one of my favourite categories. I think we meet some really fascinating businesses each year. What would you say to anyone considering entering that category for 2025? And what would you like to see when you're judging later this year?
I would say, firstly, do it because it is, for me, the awards is the biggest award in the country. And I'm not saying that, again, because I'm in front of you. I'm saying that because it's the truth. And you want to be around some of the best businesses in the world. So I'd say do it because your team will thank you. And also, what I like about the application process, it allows you to reflect on everything that you were doing. It allows you to say to yourself, actually, no, we did this and we did that. By the time you finish your application, just read it. And if you're not proud of your organization, you would 100% be proud of everything that you were doing. And again, it's a category that focuses on the purpose side. So you said it's your favorite. It's my favorite, and because I love it. What my biggest advice to organization is showcase the impact that you're doing, showcase the impact, the people that benefited from the impact that you're doing, your team, whether it's your beneficiaries, let that be center of it. And also storytell. Storytell it's important to, thread that story from your impact along with your business as well and how you've embedded that within the organization. So I would say, if you're thinking of doing it, don't, go ahead and do it.
You heard it from Abdul. Yes. Do it. Yes. This is sort of a question that we are going to ask all of our entrepreneurs and when we speak to, because it's that wonderful world of hindsight. And a lot of people ask me this, and I'm sure a lot of people actually will ask you, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you started out?
I think sometimes the setback and the hardship that you receive in life builds you for something bigger. And sometimes you might not understand why this is happening at that particular moment, but you realize that's actually, you're building resilience, you're character building. And those are traits that you need in business, because business is not always going to be happy days and roses. No, you're going to deal with challenges every day. And those early hardships in life and those early setbacks propels you to a better opportunity. And I'm a firm believer of that. Like, you will not go through life without seeing hardship. We're all going to face it's impossible. We're all going to face some sort of setback, whether it's personal, whether it's business, whether it's finances, whether it's et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's, what do we want to learn from that particular moment that's going to help us achieve something bigger? And you look at all the successful businesses throughout, everyone's gone through something, and because of that something, they made a pivot. You've seen how many businesses have grown because of the pandemic. Mm. We were doing this, but then the pandemic happened, so then we've pivoted and we've done this, and now we're doing this. That happens all the time. So and you need that resilience in business and in life as well, because again, you're going to be tested. You're going to be tested. So it's recognizing that early, and it's saying, okay, bring it on, and that's fine. We'll ride that wave, and when we get to the destination we wanted to get to, it just feels so much better because you've gone through all of those hurdles that you're able to appreciate it a lot more. Mm. So I would say it's that, just be patient. Nothing is going to happen overnight. Just be incredibly patient. Sometimes you can look at another organization and they've scaled so quickly. It's like, oh, why is that not me? But the grass isn't always green. You just focus on stay in your lane and stay in your course. And we all have our lanes in life. And what we tend to do is look at what other people have and forgetting the blessings that we have ourselves. And it's constantly reminding that. And I feel like those qualities is what will keep you stable when you're surrounded by chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel your grandmother would probably give the same answer as well. Abdul, every time we speak, I feel empowered and it's inspirational. Thank you so much for coming here to share your story. And I'm sure that a lot of the BBA community will really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And thank you for your support to the awards.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. You've always empowered me as well, and you've making me a judge. You've always put me in positions where, and again, as someone who suffers from imposter syndrome, you've always given me the personal confidence. Every time I've left any of our interactions, I always leave a better person. I always leave a more confident person. And, that's all down to you and the incredible community that you've created. So, again, I'm always grateful anytime we're able to connect. So thank you.
You make me emotional. Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.